Hello everyone and welcome back to episode 5 of this Python course in which we'll be looking at lists, what are lists, how to index and access elements from the list. So let's start. A bit of a recap from the last lesson where we learned about splitting strings and all about strings. Here's a small additional way on how to split um, strings or one word on its own. So as you can see here, we defined a variable var as hello my name is. So let's say we want to split this word into hello and name is. So what you have to do is write var dot split again, which we learned last episode. And let's say since we want to remove the my, we type my in single quotes. If you want to just remove m, for example, we just write m. So what this does is it removes m and it outputs the two words on both sides of m. So that'll be hello and y name is. But let's just say when you want to output hello and name is, so we run the cell, and since we didn't tell it to print, it won't. So let's type print split underscore var and let's run it again. And there we go. It outputs hello and name is as two different elements. So yeah, that's a small continuation from and an extra know-how from splitting strings. So yeah, let's start with today's topic, which is lists. So let's go ahead and rename this notebook as lists.ipynd. So just a small recap where we did look at a small introduction of lists in the last episode. Lists are essentially an ordered collection of elements stored, and that can be assigned to a variable. The list is contained also within square brackets, as you can see here. This is a list, and elements are stored are separated by commas. So let's start by showing a list, a normal list. Let's call it list is equal to, in square brackets, keep in mind, let's say 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 6, 7. Let's take this as our list. So for lists, you do not need to say print list. You can just type list on its own here and it will output list. If you don't type list, it won't output anything. So you do not need to type a print, but type list inside a print statement. It automatically outputs it when you just type list on its own. That's a small thing to keep in mind. Another way to print the same list again is by typing this print and then list, and then in square brackets type a colon. So what this will do will output all elements from the start till the end, which is essentially the same thing. Yeah, so this is just another method of outputting the list. Okay, so let's move on to indexing. Let's start with a new code cell and type a hashtag which comments whatever you write, indexing elements in the list. Alright, so we did look at this in the previous episode, but just for a small recap, let's say we want to access element 0. Once again, the first element in the list is always has an index value of 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. So let's say you want to print list, and in square brackets again 0. So that'll print 5 because this has an index value of 0. Let's say we change this to 1, 2, yeah, as you can see 0, 1, 2. Whatever we type within the list, it will print that exact value according to the index value that we input. Okay, so that's just basic indexing. So now let's move on to something more complex, which is called nested indexing. Let's type a new code cell, type nested indexing. So let's take another list, hello underscore list, just any random name, and let's say this list is equal to 2, 5, and then within this list we type another list with square brackets. Let's say we can even type strings. Let's say James comma Holland, and we exit this nested list and we type another few values, 10, even a string my underscore name, anything really. So let's take this as our list. Keep in mind you can have integers and any other data type within a list. It doesn't really constrain a singular data type within a list. So here we took integers and strings with a nested list of James and Holland, as you can see represented by the inside square brackets of the original square brackets. So let's take hello list as these values. So now how do we access elements from this nested index? So what we have to do is type print again hello underscore list, because that's what our list is called, and then within square brackets, let's say we want to access 2 just to start. You should know by now that 2 will have an index value of 0. Yeah, so it should output 2. Now let's say you want to access James. You might think that it may have an index value of 0, 1, 2, which is not the case, but let's see what happens. Yeah, it outputs James and Holland. Why is that? Because this entire thing has an index value of 2, not just James on its own. It's because this entire thing is within square brackets, so it's considered as one singular element, not 2. So how do we access only James? So what you have to do is, this has an index value of 2, and then within this index value we add another square brackets, and since this is the first element within this list, it has an index value of 0. So what this does is it takes the second element, the index value of 2, 0, 1, 2, which is this whole thing, and then 0 within that, which is James. So let's print this, and there we go. It prints James on its own. Now if you want to print Holland, this will have index value of 2 again, and then Holland will be 1, not 0. And it'll print Holland. That is how nested indexing works. So if you guys are feeling a bit confused, don't worry. With practice, you guys will understand this. So now let's move on to accessing more than one element in a list. So how do we do that? So let's take another comment and type more than one element in a list. So let's start by just using the same list as the before cell. So let's say we want to print elements from index value of 1 till index value of 3. So 0, 1, 2, 3, that's still 10. So how do we do that? Once again we type print hello underscore list, and now we have to type 1 until 4. Keep in mind we don't type 1 colon 3 because it subtracts 1 from the final element, so it will only print this value and this value. So when we write 4, it prints from index value of 1 to index value of 3. Keep that in mind, that you have to subtract 1 and not write the exact place value on its own. So let's print, and there we go. It prints this 1, this is index value of 2, and this has an index value of 3. It does not print index value of 4 because it subtracts 1. That's an important thing to keep in mind, and don't forget that because it may cause errors in the future. Okay, so that's how this works. Now how do we print elements from here all the way until the end? Sure, you can just type this and then add 1 to the end, but that won't work. What you have to do is print hello underscore list, and let's say we want to print from the second value until the end. So 0, 1, 2, we type 2 and then a colon. Yeah, so let's just run the cell. Yeah, this one. There we go. It prints from the second value, which is James comma Holland, all the way until my name, which is the last element, as you can see here. Yeah, so that's how this works. Now let's look at negative indexing, which is another concept that you need to know. So what negative indexing does is that instead of printing from this element, it starts from this element. So since this has an element value index value of 0, this has an index value of -1. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. Let's just write here last value in a list has an index value of -1, index value of 0. Just write this in comments so as to not forget it. And let's say we want to print the last value, which is my name. So as said before, it has an index value of -1, or you can also take it as an index value of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Both works. But if you want to start from here, it's -1, and it prints my name. And so this has a -1 value, this will have a -2, this will have a -3, -4, -5. So it works in reverse both ways. So let's print -2, and that's 10. So that's how negative indexing works. So you can use whichever is more comfortable according to the situation that you're coding this list for. And one last thing before we end for lists is to print the length of the list. So how do we do that? We type len, which is short for length, and then in parentheses we type the name of our list, which is hello_list. So what this will do is it prints the number of elements that is inside the list. And since we have 5 elements, it prints 5. And yeah, that's how to find the length of this list. So that's it for lists. We covered a lot of things. Indexing elements, nested indexing elements, accessing more than one element in a list, printing from one element all the way till the end, negative indexing. Yeah, and that's a lot of content, and length as well. Keep length one in mind because this is an important function to use in the future, which we will be looking deeper at. So yeah, that's it for this episode. The next episode we'll be looking at dictionaries and booleans. So make sure to keep practicing indexing and to not forget index values of the elements. That's it for this episode. See you in the next one.